Hey there, welcome back to the Millennial Book Junkie. My name is Monique, and in this video, I'm going to be doing a 2-star thriller reading vlog. I'm going to be reading two 2-star thrillers and letting you know how I feel about them as I read them. So I am pretty easily amused. Sometimes when people say they had a 2-star thriller, I usually rate it 4 stars. I am the type of person that gets very easily excited, easily amused. My husband likes to say that I've never had a bad meal and I've never seen a bad movie because I usually like everything. So I was wondering if I would rate some of the popular 2-star thrillers as 2 stars. So for this vlog, I did a little research to see what were some popular 2-star thrillers. I asked a Facebook group full of psychological thriller readers, and a lot of them responded and told me what their last 2-star thriller was. And from there, I narrowed down 2 books. So in this 2-star thriller reading vlog, I'm going to be reading We Used to Live Here by Marcus Klewer, because I've heard a lot of mixed things about that one. And I'm also going to be reading You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. We Used to Live Here, if you haven't heard of it, is about a queer couple who decide they're going to renovate a house. And once they move into that house, a family of 5 shows up on their door and asks if they can come inside the house and look around for a little while. Of course, the couple lets them in, and then calamity ensues shortly thereafter. This sounds really interesting, but I've heard a lot of things about how like the ending leaves you kind of like, what did I just read and what just happened? And I've heard people say that you leave with like not good answers to what happened. And I really like a good resolution at the end. So I probably will not like this book. I'm not sure if there's no good resolution or if I feel really confused. I don't know. But like I said, I'm really easily amused. So we will see how this goes. The second 2-star thriller that I'm going to be reading is You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. That one is about a young woman who lives in New York and she is overworked and exhausted, so she decides to rent an Airbnb out on a ranch. And when she's on that ranch, I guess she meets this guy named Calvin who she has a bit of a fling with. But then, of course, calamity ensues. That's the main phrase that I'm using for this video. Calamity is just ensuing all over the place. So I've heard a lot of bad things about this book. I did not really enjoy the one book that I did read by Geneva Rose, which is Home is Where the Bodies Are. So I do have high hopes, but I'm a little nervous. So we'll see how this goes. So to start off this reading vlog, let's get started with We Used to Live Here, and here we go. So almost 100 pages into this book, and I'm enjoying it so far. I would say probably there's a couple things that are annoying me, but I also just got off of reading a couple really good books. So I think I was kind of like, it took me a minute to get adjusted to the writing in this book. Even though the writing is good, it's fine, there's nothing wrong with it. But every once in a while, like backstory creeps in, and it takes like half a page. And that's fine. Obviously, we all know that backstory is required to give characters depth and history and all that stuff. But sometimes, like, I just feel like I only need like a couple sentences of backstory, like, you know, and I feel like at certain parts in this book, like I'm reading along and it's a thriller, you know, it's scary. I just want to be scared. I don't want to take a second to remember what happened 5 years ago, you know, that kind of thing. That always bothers me in thrillers. But I think that's the one thing I'm getting annoyed about in this book so far, is just that every once in a while I feel like I'm ready to move forward and the author just keeps throwing in like half a page of backstory and I'm like, oh, I don't want to read that. I just want to move forward. But overall, I am enjoying it so far. Right now, it's, you know, early days in this book. They've allowed these people to come in their home. They're learning more about them and they're a little bit creeped out, but nothing big so far has happened. Also, between each chapter, there's like little snippets of like documentation, probably just, I feel like it's like evidence or something. So you know something's gonna go down, you just don't know what it is. So far, I am interested and I like it, and it's definitely holding my attention. So I'm excited to go further and see where it goes. All right, guys, we are in the car. I don't have a car phone holder, so this video might look a little weird. Not sure how it'll come out, but here we go. I am on my way to the library. I am heading to return the book by Lisa Jewell called None of This Is True. I have read a little bit more of We Used to Live Here, so I wanted to update you on where we are at, because we are at some place that I don't even know where we're at. Overall, I will say that it's very interesting. I don't know what is going on. I'm on page like 200 or something. I don't know. I'm like, no. I think I'm on page like 160 or something like that. And essentially I am just going with the flow because I don't know what is happening. I am kind of at this part where Eve, the main character, is just trying to figure out what is going on, why these people won't leave her house, and she is coming upon learning about this family in different ways, and it is just throwing me for a loop. I'm just really confused. I don't know what's going on. And you know how I said between each of the chapters there's like little documentation that comes out and it's like, you know, gives background as to what's going on? Well, I have no idea what's going on. Like, the documentation is getting a little more confusing. Like, there was this like 3 or 4 page documentation about how ants and specific plants and ferns have somehow made their way to the area where the house is, but they're not native to that area. So it's like a whole thing on, it's like an exploration on like why, and like the stories behind why these old ants and plants from other areas of the world have arrived at this like old house. I think it's the old house where the couple is staying. So it's like this lengthy documentation on that. And I was like, it's like, do I have to think? It's making me think. I don't want to think. But I read it and I was like, okay, whatever, let's just move on. I'm hoping that things become clear, because right now I'm just kind of going with the flow. Like, I think I would be fine without all that extra documentation kind of making me wonder what's really going on. Obviously, with this family coming to stay with Eve and her partner Charlie, you're like, okay, that's weird within itself. So I'm just trying to like stay to that storyline. Every time the documentation comes out, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know how this relates. And if I try and think about it too much, I'm gonna go nuts, because there's like all these symbols and like weird stuff. And I'm like, I'm already like, my brain is already zapped. It's 12 o'clock, but I start work at like 5:30 in the morning. So at this point, I'm like, I'm not thinking about anything. I am just going with the flow. I'm just hoping that it's all gonna be explained soon and going from there. So I will say though, I am enjoying it. I am like, what the heck is going on? And it's really interesting. It reminds me of a book that I read a long time ago called The Raw Shark Texts. I read this book like 15 years ago, I have to say, and I think I even read it like for college or something. I don't know, but that one was so crazy because it had like all these weird symbols and codes, and like it was using keyboard, like letters on the keyboard as like codes. If you are interested in that, you should check it out, because I remember really enjoying that book. It was fun. It was like, I don't know. I don't even remember what it was about, but it was this guy trying to like uncover something, and he had like these codes that he had to like use to uncover and unlock, and it was like a puzzle, and it was really good. And this kind of reminds me of that. So I'm liking the fact that there's weird aspects, you know, like I am liking the fact that there's like weird stuff behind everything, and the documentation is interesting. I just don't feel like putting it together right now. So I'm just reading, I'm just going with the flow, and I'm just gonna see where it goes from there. Okay, I have entered obsession zone. I now cannot put this book down. It happened for me on page 193. There was this like part where they were interviewing someone who had an experience in the house, and now I am like really intrigued. And then I think it was like, I don't know, page whatever, 200 something. Early on, I think it was page 218. Yeah, I can't give spoilers, but let's just say that like Eve and her partner, Eve gets a call. Eve is the main character. She gets this call, and things are just not what she thought they were. And now I'm in it. I'm really in it. And I'm like, what is going on? Wait, what is happening? And I am just in it. And now there's no going back. You will not be able to pull this book away from me. Hyperfixation on getting this book finished, because I need to know what is happening. Also, I'm very curious to know, like, what are these little dots, like, at the end of each page? Like, not each page, but, like, these documentation pages, they have, like, these weird dots. And I'm like, can we just find out what these are? Okay, I just finished the book, and I have to say my immediate feeling is that I liked it. I'm still not sure what I would rate it, because I literally just finished it, so I'm still kind of like processing, but I will say that it was very confusing, but in kind of a good way. I used to be really upset when like I couldn't figure out what was happening, and I always felt like I had to figure every single thing out. If you're that type of person, like, you won't like this book, because honestly, there's stuff that happens in this book that you just kind of have to accept and be like, okay, well, the house is just weird, or the people are just weird. Things are just weird. Like, I think those little intermediate chapters where they were showing like evidence, documentation that I had been mentioning, I think a lot of those are meant to kind of explain like what's going on, although I think it doesn't explain so much as hint at to what's going on. I don't know if you've ever seen the show Shining Girls. I think it's based on a book, but that show doesn't really tell you what's going on either, but you kind of can assume what's going on. And that's kind of how I felt about this book. Things are very strange. Things are very weird in this book. But in a good way, because it's kind of confusing, but in a good way. I can't explain it. It's kind of like, you're just like shaking your head like, wait, what is happening? Like, what is going on with reality? You know, it's kind of like reality bending. You're like, wait, what is going on? And you can't really figure it out. I think there's enough in this book that tells you, like, gives you hints as to what's going on, but doesn't fully flesh it out for you because it probably leaves you to make your own assumptions, which sometimes I like. But there's a movie I just saw recently. It was a scary movie. It was with Halle Berry. And she has these two kids and they're living in the woods. And like, you don't really know what's going on with them. And after the movie, I was like, what just happened? Like, what was real and what wasn't? And they basically leave it up to you. And I did not like that in that movie. But this one, I feel like we got enough to kind of like maybe put some pieces together. After I finished it, I immediately went back through all the different parts of the book where they were showing like the evidence and the documentation. And I was like, maybe some stuff made sense, but still other stuff I was like, I don't know why that happened. And I don't know why this happened. And then I was like, am I okay with that? You know, sometimes I feel like if you're okay with it, like if you have enough to kind of make some assumptions, then it's fine. I might have to do some Googling and see if someone has like figured out, like, remember I was telling you about those dots, like lots of questions still about that I have. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to do some Googling, but overall this was fun. I liked it. I really did. I don't know my rating, but I know that it's not gonna be a 2-star. So those of you that rated 2 stars, I respect your rating, but I don't think this was a 2-star book. I don't know what it would be though. I'm leaning towards like a 3.75, maybe a 4. I'm not sure. And the reason why is because number one, there's just a lot left to be said. So I can't just like be 100% okay with that. I'm like 90% okay with that, but there's a lot left to be said. I also like the writing style annoyed me a little bit like throughout the book because every time Eve was going to turn around and do something, something stopped her. While I think it's great because it keeps the reader like not bored, but literally every time she was about to go do something, oh, but then I saw this. Eve was about to turn around and do something, but something stopped her. Oh, and then she was in the kitchen, but something stopped her. And like everything was stopping her. And then this horrible, horrible part with the backstory. I cannot take all this backstory, you guys. I just cannot take it. Like it wasn't even that the backstory parts were long. They were just placed in the wrong areas. Like there's this scene where she's like going through the house and she's got a flashlight and like she smells something, okay? And then all of a sudden she's like, it was like that one time I stepped on a bird. One time when I was young, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you're in the house right now. I don't care what happened when you were young. That isn't even relevant. Like if you want to, and the whole reason why she brought up this story, this backstory was so that she could talk about how the smell in the house was worse than this bird. But we don't need that. We could just use a lot of adjectives here to describe how bad the smell was, and we would be fine. We wouldn't need this whole separate paragraph about how you stepped on a bird and it smelled, but actually it's not as bad as what's going on in the house. Like that just drove me insane. It didn't happen like a ton, but every time it happened, I rolled my eyes. It just didn't feel seamless. Didn't feel like we needed that part. So that was another thing that bugged me. But overall, like I said, I loved the idea behind this book. I loved where it was taking me. I loved the questions I was asking. It was kind of like Severance in that way, in that you're watching it, you're enjoying it, but you don't know what the heck is going on, but you're still enjoying it. So in that way, it was kind of like Severance, but I really was not mad about not like learning every little detail. Like I was okay with that. I really enjoyed the concept behind it. And I thought it was so weird and so strange. And I really like the idea of like houses being scary and spooky, but also being like entities and having powers. Like that stuff really interests me. So that's kind of like how The Shining Girls is. So I really liked the idea, and I liked actually all the documentation that was interspersed throughout, like between the chapters, because that was really cool too. Like that was just like, it made me feel like I was watching a documentary or something. And I just feel like it gave it like a spooky vibe. So I think I'm more leaning towards like a 3.75, but yeah, I think that might be what I give it, but we'll see. I have to think on it. Literally just finished it, but I will say that I definitely enjoyed it, and I do not think this is a 2-star, at least my opinion. So thank you so much for going through this with me. Up next, I'm going to be reading You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. So I'm really excited to dig into that. I think I'm going to dig into it later tonight. So I'll keep you posted on how that goes. Okay, I am back in the car. It is the next day. I just got done getting my nails done. They were pretty terrible before, and I did a good amount of reading while I was getting my nails done on You Shouldn't Have Come Here. And I shouldn't have read that, or I shouldn't have even started reading this. I am already not a fan, which I kind of knew was going to happen, but you know, I went through anyway. I'm about 20% in, and so far we have a woman. Sorry, I gotta drive first and foremost and not die. So, okay, I'm going for it. Here we go. Okay, so far we have a woman who was a banker in New York, and she has decided to take a little Airbnb out in Wyoming, and it's on a ranch, and she meets this strapping young lad named Calvin Wells, and she immediately finds him attractive, describes him as attractive, and we get her point of view and Calvin's point of view, and basically, you know, the drill. She thinks he's hot, he thinks she's hot, and I guess there's like one small suspicious thing that happens while she's in town, but so far, I don't know. From the very first page, from the very first couple of pages, I was like, I don't know if this is for me. But I am gonna see it through. It feels very much like a DNF. I'm like not excited to get back to it. But I am gonna stick it out just because finally like one thing aside from them being attracted to each other happens. And I'm like, okay, so basically I'm sticking around to see if anything weird further happens. So we'll kind of see how it goes. But so far I don't like the characters. I am not a big fan of the dialogue. Everything just seems kind of surfacey and whatever. So, but I am gonna stick around to see what happens. You know, it is a thriller, so hopefully some thrilling things will happen. And I can kind of already see maybe what's gonna happen, but I don't know, we'll see. If there's a good twist, I might so like it, but so far it's feeling like I'm giving it a few more chapters to see if anything like scary happens, but I'm probably going to DNF this one. Only because I'm like, should I continue reading it and then also giving it a 2-star? Like if it's feeling like a 2-star, like so early, do I want to spend my time keeping on with it? Or do I want to just be like, you know what, off the bat, I know I'm not going to like this. I'm just going to DNF it, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm really stubborn too. Like I don't think I've, you know, I have a few DNF'd books, but only because I just ran out of time. Like I don't think recently I like DNF'd something because I didn't like it. So I'm like, you know, should I DNF? But I don't know. I really hate not finishing books, but I don't know. Some of them are just not, you know, worth the time. So I don't know. I'm going to keep reading and I will keep you posted. Okay, so I am almost 50% into You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. And a couple of things are bothering me. Number one, I'm not really sure what kind of relationship these two people have. Like I said, the main character, her name is Grace Evans. She is on this Wyoming ranch. She is from New York originally, and she's on this ranch for like a little mini vacay, but like it's an Airbnb. And so like she's living in this room in the ranch, and this guy Calvin is there. He's like the rancher, and he's taking care of everything, but like he's like very much involved, like asking her if she wants to go horseback riding, teaching her how to fish, and all this time we're getting her perspective and his perspective. But then it's weird because like his perspective is like, she's like so like towards him, she's like doing things for him and she's dressing nice for him and she's saying, oh, maybe I'll extend my stay. But then when we get her perspective, she's like, I'm wigged out. There's no Wi-Fi. You know, my car doesn't work. Like, I want to get out of here. I'm starting to feel like, you know, weird about this place and weird about Calvin. And I feel like it's actually shifting more towards his perspective. And like, I'm really confused by her, the main character, because she is like giving him signs that like she wants to like flirt with him and like, you know, be with him longer and all this stuff. And then like, she's really like teasing him. But then like, when we get her perspective, like she doesn't talk about how much she likes him. She talks about how scared she is. And I'm just like, what is going on here? And then like, I just don't understand their relationship. Like there's this scene where like, he's like mowing the lawn in like this tractor and she just like, she like brings him lunch out there. And then like he pulls her up on the tractor and she's like sitting in his lap. And I'm like, wait, but like, I don't know. We're at this point where like, they haven't really like even kissed yet. So I'm like, wait, so you're like, okay with sitting in his lap, but like you guys haven't like, what? So you have this like relationship, but there's been no physical contact yet. I just don't know what's going on. And it's very strange. And I'm just like, when is it going to start to get like scary? Because only like a couple of freaky things have happened so far. It is not enough. And I'm really already like, girl, you need to tell us what's going on with this Calvin guy. You need to tell us what's going on with this main girl, because this Calvin guy has also got like this crazy brother who has some past that we don't know about yet. But it's like, everything is such a secret about Calvin's past. And I'm just like, can we get this show on the road? That is where I'm at. So I'll keep you posted when I am going farther. But right now I'm just like, can we get to what is happening here? Because I know something sinister is happening. And I'm just like, I know it's going to be whatever. It's definitely feeling like a 2-star thriller, but I just want to see what it is. So can we just get there already? Okay, I have just finished You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose, and basically I did not agree with the 2-star rating because I would have given it less than a 2-star. I would give it a 1.5 star. And the 0.5 I would say is only because I did kind of like the ending. It had a little bit of a redeeming quality. I liked the character more at the end. I felt like she had suddenly all this depth and I was like, okay, great. Where was this earlier? It was just crazy because from the midway point to like the end of the novel, there just kept being like event after event after event. They were not good events, but they had no meaning. Like they were just, it was almost like they were put there to just make the ranch seem weird, but like I didn't feel like it tied into anything because every time something happened, I just didn't care. And I'm like, why don't I care about what's happening? And I think it was because there was no reason to care about the characters. Like they were just so paper thin. I had no reason to care about them. But yeah, like I would say like there was a twist at the end, which I mean, anyone could probably see it coming, but like after the twist was over is when, you know, the last like 20 pages is actually when I thought it started to get good. I was like, oh, cool. And I read Home is Where the Bodies Are. And I like, that one was okay. I mean, it wasn't the best thriller ever, but like, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't like, oh my God, what am I reading? It was like, you know, I think I gave it a 3, you know, it was like, it was not bad. So I don't know. I think maybe it's like a hit or miss, you know? I think maybe some books are just hit or miss with Geneva Rose. I'm not sure. I know that I've heard like The Perfect Marriage, I think, is another one that's like really popular. And maybe that one is like really good. Still, it was fun to make this vlog and I had a lot of fun reading with you guys. So my verdict here is that I would give this one a 1.5 star. And I gave We Used to Live Here 3.75. So yeah, I didn't agree with the 2-star ratings for either of these books, but I guess that's how it goes. So thank you guys so much for watching this vlog. It has been so fun to make these videos. I did not think I was gonna have enough time to do it, but it actually was really easy because I just turned on the camera every time I was reading. So it was great. So I really, really wanna do more of these in the future. So thanks for watching, you guys. Also, let me know what you thought of these books because yeah, I need to know. All right, and if you like this type of content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.